play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. Dracarys.
Afraid of a dead horse.
The Red Woman.
I know you guys couldn't hear the song, but you should go back and listen to it. I found a really good, but also weird Game of Thrones intro remix. So,
All right.
by this.
I hope it's public domain.
Sure, why not? We'll credit Metronome. His name's Metronome. So,
Okay.
clever name.
Not Miley Cyrus's brother.
And
No.
MBS's permission.
It's from 2014. Okay. Anyway. Okay.
Thanks, Metronome. Don't sue us, please.
No, hey,
Yeah,
15
right,
seconds.
yeah.
We're good. We're good.
I mean, he
I
makes
think
a
we
free
have to
download
make money
available.
before you can sue us for stuff, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right, welcome guys to A Shame of Thrones, episode 7, and I didn't even know what the name of this episode was until today, The Broken Man, which makes a lot of sense now. So we're not going to start out with that. We're not going to start out with the major thing that happened at the beginning of the show. We're going to start that. We're going to save that for the end. So unlike when the whole Jon Snow stuff happened, we had to address that right off the bat. Kind of had to. So, okay, so first of all, we're going to start with Jon and Sansa and Davos are kind of traveling to make allegiances to go against the Boltons, right? Because they basically don't really have an army to go against them. We know a couple of episodes ago they decided that they're going to try and take back Winterfell. So they have the wildlings. Did they ever say how many it was? What is it,
Like 2,000.
Yeah, a couple thousand or something. Yeah. So trying to get allegiances from everyone else in the north is not going very well, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And if you remember from, I don't know what season it was, but they got a message. I believe Stannis got the message that says Bear Island knows only one king, the King of the North, who is obviously Robb Stark, who is obviously dead. So they travel to Bear Island to try to get their regent, and the Mormonts reign there. And now the reigning member of the Mormont family is a 10-year-old girl. And it's
Great scene.
She's probably 11 or 12 now. To be fair.
probably, well, in the show, she's supposed to be 10-ish, right?
Well, she was.
It's not really supposed to be her though. Remember, like Jorah is supposed to be the guy.
Oh yeah. Jorah's Jorah is supposed to reign, but is she Geo Mormont's granddaughter? Is that right?
I believe daughter.
Oh, I feel like she's young for that though, because he was fairly old.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Pages.
Look at Walder Frey.
The
Viral into his
They're doing
70s.
it all the time.
remember the old, well, and he was the commander at the wall.
The Lord Commander.
Lord
Yeah.
Commander, thank you.
That was her uncle.
Oh, okay.
so
So she's his
uncle,
niece.
okay, thank
She's
you.
his niece. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was trying to
Oh, that's
wonder.
right.
I couldn't figure out where that connection was. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the reason why he went to the wall, because he was like the younger brother in the family. And so he
Okay.
goes
So
to the
he
wall.
couldn't get anything. Okay.
Right,
I
right,
couldn't
right. So the
remember what
older
that
brother
connection
stayed,
was.
And the older brother is Jorah's dad,
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
right? And so Jorah should be the one that's ruling right now. But
No.
he gets
Jorah. Jorah is his son.
Yeah, Jorah is Jaor's son.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jorah is the Lord Commander's son.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
Right.
Okay. We're making these connections from 3-4 seasons ago, because I feel like the theme of this season is just bringing up a bunch of old shit and making it into new shit, and it's here's a new story. Enjoy. I hope you like it.
That's why Gentry's right around the corner.
Gendry. Yeah,
Gendry.
Gentry. Close enough. He's gonna be ripped.
I like where your head's at, Madison.
He's gonna be so ripped.
He's been rowing for like 5 seasons.
He
now.
has, dude. He's gonna be so ripped now.
Like his upper body's gonna be ridiculous. But he's been skipping leg day for like 4 years.
He's been skipping leg day. He's gonna get out of the boat and just like fall over. His knees are just gonna like give out on him.
They're not gonna be able to hold him up.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway,
He's not a don't worry.
She's basically reigning over Bear Island right now. So they go to like ask for their allegiance, and she's kind of a pain in the ass, like back and forth. And eventually, I believe it's Davos that kind of speaks up and convinces her or whatever. And she gives them 62 soldiers, not 62,000, not 6,200, 62. And
but they fight with the strength of 10.
But they fight. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
And
yeah.
she
sure.
says it hard
yeah, okay.
too. She's like, I'm gonna give you 62 men.
She is such a badass. Okay. It doesn't matter. She is a badass, and I hope she doesn't die anytime soon. Which means she probably will die like in the next episode, or she's probably already dead and we just don't even know it. So basically, Jon and Sansa, they don't really have enough people, but Jon wants to basically say fuck it and go anyway, right? Well, to take on the Boltons. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I was gonna say we should talk about that moment where she reveals that this has been about 62 men, right? Because I think that's actually a key thematic moment in the episode.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that there's a couple of things. One is kind of contrasting how Jon was able to convince the wildlings to follow him versus how he was able to even deal with this 10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And like the cultural differences and stuff like that. So that was very interesting to watch Jon struggle with that after being able to be a leader, particularly amongst the wildlings. But the other thing was her badassery, like Lyanna's badassery, right?
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm glad you said that.
It's a tradition on this podcast.
I'm sorry.
I start saying things and then you interrupt.
Because that made me think of something and I don't want to forget it.
Okay.
I don't, and someone needs to explain this to me because I don't understand what the connection is, because they said they named her Lyanna after
Sansa's aunt.
Yeah, Ned's sister. But what's the connection between the Mormonts and the Starks? Like why did
together? That's it.
That's it. So they just like were friends, so they just named her after her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not related. It's not like the Starks and the Karstarks.
I knew they weren't related, but I just didn't know like what the connection there was. Okay, please continue. Won't interrupt you again. Probably will though anyway.
Fair enough. But so watching this haggling, right? It was very powerful. This actress was awesome. And just the back and forth, and then the idea that at the end of it, it was Davos saying Davos's speech was very convincing. It was very straight to the point, and it was still about the value of life, right? And what I think that this episode asks as a question, right, is what is the value of a life? And whether that's through the stuff that we're not talking about yet, or whether that's this scene, or whether it's through the stuff that's going on with the Sparrow and Marjorie, or any of the other themes, a lot of the times it's asking, or even with Arya, right, it's asking what is the value of a life? And to reveal that all this haggling, this epic scene,
over 62,
they spent so much time on. Theon's another great example, right? We'll get into that with him and Yara. But like all of this epic haggling, and they finally convince her in this triumphant moment. And what did you secure? 62 men. Like this relatively paltry number, given like the seeming stakes. And so I think that really set things off in terms of the thematics. And I want to just kind of call that out, that's a frame that then I used for the rest of the episode, like, because Lyanna, as a rule, her whole position is like, that's all well and good, but why should I risk a single life more?
Yeah, no matter how many.
When Davos is like, they're already at risk, was she convinced? And that idea of they're already at risk, like, that's also an important one for the episode, right? And that relates back to what went on with the stuff we're not talking about. But like the idea that you're always in danger, right? And that your life may seem one way, but it's actually like there are forces at work from a lethality standpoint, from a there are things trying to kill you. That means that your life is worth more or less, and that you and other people's lives are worth more or less. It like fucks with that value equation. That's all.
Go ahead, Madison.
Just that 20-minute diatribe. So I'm good now.
I think one of the interesting, and it plays a little bit off of what Kevin was saying, is that this whole montage where they're visiting different houses, I think one of the most interesting things about it is after Rob dies, after he's killed, after the whole Red Wedding, we don't really see the impact in the North besides what happens in Winterfell. And I think this scene really showed the gravity of how many people were in fact lost when he was killed and the Red Wedding happened and all that. And there's really, I think when people were committing themselves to the Bolton house, they're like, oh, so many people support the Starks, but we really didn't see the impact of how far it went after Rob fell, that in fact it is really disjointed in the North, and it makes that even harder. So they're going to have like a farther rise to power than I think we all kind of assumed they would.
It's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
The road to like success for that is going to be a lot more difficult ever since Rob was killed. Yeah. Go.
And I think that's why these scenes were so important, because I think everybody just assumed the Stark name was still so powerful because that's repeated over and over and over again.
Well, and she did. Go ahead, Ralph. Go ahead.
Like the scene after where they go to the Glovers and the Glover guy is like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me kind of thing, because he was like, we already gave our people to fight for Rob and everybody got killed. And now you want me to give our people for you too? Like, we're done following the Starks, right? Like, they've had enough and they're all finished with going to war, right? Like, everybody just kind of wants to hold on to their little patch of dirt and be like, I'm going to stay over here and be safe.
Right.
By the way, the worst sigil in the whole Seven Kingdoms is the Glovers.
The glove fist?
How dumb was that? That's so dumb.
I think it's pretty cool. But so my wife's maiden name is Glover.
Okay.
Fun story is my wife's maiden name is Glover. So as they're like turning down Jon Snow and Sansa, I'm just looking over her like, what the
fuck is wrong with you?
What's wrong with your fucking family?
Yeah.
Cultural appropriation, anyone?
Yeah.
So they, like we were saying, they end up not having enough people, or not having enough people to fight for them. And they're basically kind of in the same place that Stannis was, if you think about it, because Stannis really didn't think he had enough people. But he was trying to get the wildlings to fight for them, but they wouldn't. So they're basically essentially kind of in the same position that Stannis was in. If you kind of like can compare it, I don't know the numbers, but it's essentially like the same position. I almost think the scene looked exactly the same. I almost wonder if they're like exactly camped out the exact same place.
I think
they actually spent like three. Yeah, they spent like 3 lines of dialogue saying that.
Yeah.
Like,
there you go.
They're in a
Yeah.
The difference, though, I think Stannis absolutely had enough men. It's just that he got attacked in the middle of the night when he wasn't expecting.
That's true. Yeah, true.
Remember, like they're in camp and they're like planning their battle strategy to attack, and then what's his name like slides up from the backside. Oh yeah,
that's right. Gets like 5 or 10 people.
And they cut everybody's throat in the middle of the night and.
Right.
And like Stannis cooks his daughter, and half of his men leave because he cooks his daughter. And...
Worst dad ever.
Yeah.
So we can see kind of like at the end of that storyline that Sansa is writing to someone for help. Ooh, and everyone kind of figures by now that it's obviously going to be Littlefinger to try and get the
Knights of the Vale.
The Vale. Thank you. I kept wanting to say the Erie or the Aaron, but yeah, the Vale. Close enough.
Both those work.
Yeah. So she obviously wants to get help from Littlefinger, but like I never know what the fuck he wants to do. What Littlefinger, like what's going on in his head, and essentially what is his end game, because he always devises these like masterful plans or whatever, but it's kind of like, what does he want the end game to be? And at one point you think he wants his end game to be like with Catelyn, because essentially he helped Ned get killed.
Yeah.
Basically.
No, he did.
Yeah,
He did.
he basically helped Ned get killed. And then he kind of had like this awkward thing with Sansa that was like, because she reminded him of Catelyn, and it was like this weird thing. Yeah, oh, thank you for the demonstration, Kevin. When when an old man and a 13-year-old love each other very much. And then he basically gives her away to the Boltons so that he can be on the side of the Boltons and the Lannisters at the same time, but also on the side of the Tyrells for killing Joffrey. I never really know where his head at, because he literally has himself dipped into like basically every storyline.
That's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
You got it.
And
you
I
picked
think,
up on it.
Yeah, and I think we saw that come to a head last episode where he's now kind of planned himself into a corner.
Yeah.
With Sansa surviving her ordeal, and he probably didn't think that was going to happen. So he's planned himself into a corner. Now for him, I think it's just about survival. What do I do at this moment? I think planning for him, I never want to say planning for him is done, but I think long-term planning for him might be taking a back seat to actually just surviving the next ordeal.
Well, that's what I'm curious about, is through all of this, what like was his long-term goal, or did it like keep changing? Because now if you think about it, okay, say that he convinces Robin to give the Knights of the Vale to help like Sansa take back over Winterfell. So he's basically like betrayed the Boltons. So he's not teamed with the Boltons or the Lannisters anymore. He still kind of has an allegiance with House Tyrell because he helped kill Joffrey. So what does he get out of sending the Knights of the Vale with Sansa to take back over Winterfell?
Because there's going to be a Stark in Winterfell.
Yeah.
Right? There, an unmarried Stark, who, by the way, gives him a hard-on.
Well,
and now, all of a sudden, he is Lord and Warden of the North, right?
Well, assuming that Ramsay will die, yes.
Yeah, he's gonna die.
I mean, that's the plan, right?
The Mormont girl made a good point. She was like, is she a Lannister? Is she a Bolton? Like, she's been married multiple times. Yeah. Like, is she even a Stark anymore, right? Like, who is she? Yeah. So I think Sansa's losing her power as a Stark, and is portrayed by the little girl's ideology of, but you've been married 2 different times, by 2 different houses, by 2 different people that, like, nobody likes. So who are you to the North?
Who's your allegiance really?
Yeah, like are you friends with the Lannisters? Are you friends with the Boltons? Do you really want to be a Stark? Like, where are you at in your head? But like I think Littlefinger's always going to be where he perceives the power to be. And so if he perceives that Jon Snow and those guys are about to roll thick in the North and take over the North and have a controlling presence in the North, then I think he's going to throw his people in to help them take back over Riverrun. He can be like, hey, look what I did.
Look what I did. Look what I did.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
And it also consolidates his power, right? Like, insofar as that his power starts moving more and more towards King's Landing, right?
Yeah.
So he controls the Eyrie, right? That's kind of in the northeast, but more east, right? Then he would control the north, ostensibly. He has allies in the Tyrells, which are in the southwest. And, like, he's slowly kind of constricting in terms of the map of Westeros.
Yeah.
And he, to your point, he doesn't have allegiances, per se. He doesn't give a fuck. Like,
true.
He's kind of from the north, but not really. His entire interest is to play people against each other and just be the last man standing. So, of course, he's willing to send the Starks against the Boltons and have the Boltons fold as soon as they're no longer useful to him, because now he has the Eyrie. He's already moved on, right? Yeah. So definitely. And if both those houses weaken, and particularly if the Starks become beholden to him because the forces that he secured are what helped them defeat the Boltons, then he's sitting pretty up at Winterfell, one of the top 5 castles of all time.
Of all time. Kevin, I'm going to let you finish. But the Starks are the best of all time.
Starks have one of the greatest houses of
all time. Well, what... If Littlefinger was on Big Brother, he'd totally be the winner. Let's just put it that way. Right? Am I right, Madison? Am I right, Madison?
June 22nd.
Okay. July. June? July? Okay.
June 22nd.
Anyway, new podcast incoming.
I'm out. No.
Yeah.
Me and Wally will be talking about esports.
So what is John gonna think about that though? Because what has been John's impression of Littlefinger up to this point? So
I bet you dollars to donuts that Littlefinger tries to kill John.
Ugh.
I don't think he tries to kill him. I think Littlefinger tries to win him over, and I think John's all about it. If he's like, hey, I'll help you out, I'm your brother, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think Littlefinger's got anything to do with Jon Snow. Like, Jon Snow has no power, right, other than with the wildling.
Yeah.
Except for the power that Sansa's giving him, right?
Yeah.
So if Jon Snow dies during this battle, right, because of some betrayal that only Littlefinger knows about, right? Like, in a Littlefinger way, it's going to happen like where, like, Jon Snow's going to be sneaking in a back entrance and a raven's going to arrive, like, they're coming in the back entrance. Meanwhile, Littlefinger's going to be charging in the front, and everyone coming in the back is going to get murdered or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way Littlefinger works. But the idea is that when Jon Snow is alive, regardless of the fact that he's like a bastard or what have you, like, he's definitely still a male heir of the Stark heritage. At least has like as much of a claim as Sansa does. So when you have two like kind of shitty claims, certainly this society has proven that it's very glad to be patriarchal rather than like matrilineal. So definitely Littlefinger would want to get rid of him at some point, because he definitely would be a threat.
Well, but see, I don't agree with that either, and I'm going to bring it back to the scene with the little 10-year-old girl. The little 10-year-old girl, like, sits there and looks at Jon Snow and says, I don't see a Stark, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if the 10-year-old girl doesn't recognize you, then who the hell else will, right? Like nobody recognizes Jon Snow as a Stark. Nobody. Even when he was at the wall, they sat, like Davos sat there and looked at him and was like, Jon Snow is Jon Snow, Jon Stark. Right, and the little 10-year-old girl is like, "Do I even see a Stark? You've been married 3 times, and who the fuck are you?" Right? Like they don't owe Jon anything, and I think that was one of the things in that scene was that this little girl is like, "Who are you, and why do you even think that I owe you anything?"
Well, it's a fair point, and I think that and it'll be interesting to see it play out. And I totally respect what you said. Like you're right, you're not wrong, and I think what will happen is that. The question that will be asked is being a Stark about heritage, or is being a Stark about power and will and nobility? You know what I mean? And that's where Jon wins, right? And there's going to be some great character moment for Jon where Littlefinger's like, oh, fuck, I got to take this dude out because he's actually legit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's going to be a cool moment of dramatic tension.
Well,
but I agree with you generally.
I think Sansa will listen to Jon over Littlefinger, because even if Littlefinger somehow manages to kill Jon or make him go away or whatever, like gooey. Sansa, I mean, she could still be persuaded towards Littlefinger's way, because I mean, think of all the fucked up shit that he's done to her with, so she could always be a stupid dumb bitch as she usually is and still go back to him. So he could still gain her.
Oh, she is.
In that manner. So
slippery slope.
So he would still have control of the Stark in that way. But
Sorry, if Jon Snow came back from the dead and is killed by Littlefinger,
yeah, that's true.
Well, it ain't gonna happen, but that's what Littlefinger's gonna want. It's not gonna happen.
Go ahead, Ralph, or Kim. Go ahead, Kim.
Well, there is still like a king of the north, and it's not Jon, it's not Sansa. I mean, Rickon is up there.
Mm-hmm.
So there is still a Stark up there.
Yeah.
So that's who I would think everybody like, hey, we got to get behind Rickon because he's going to be the next king of the north.
That's a good point. Well, because and I feel like they did mention that when they went to Bear Island, but they waited until like the very end of the conversation instead of leading with that and saying, "Hey, there is still like a one true male Stark in Rickon," because Bran is kind of like nobody really knows about that, but he's also I feel like being the three-eyed raven, you kind of have to give up, all your ruling.
It's like even more than like being like taking the black.
Yes, exactly.
It's like taking the extra super black.
Taking the third eye.
Yeah. Which is an interesting section.
Okay. Everyone had the same look on their face at that point. So I feel like if maybe they lead with something like, there still is a king of the north, like Kim exactly said, there still is a king of the north, and it is Rickon, and he is in Winterfell with the fucking Boltons. Let's go get him. Maybe they would have been able to kind of persuade more people in that manner to be on their side.
But how persuasive is Rickon, right? Like as an idea, like I don't know, like.
Well,
he hasn't been inspiring anyone.
Well, just like you guys were saying, what does it mean to be a Stark? So, is it how they are portrayed by the people of the North, or is it just by their blood, or she was saying is, I don't see a Stark here. Well, if she saw Rickon, someone that she's probably never heard of or has never done anything, because the last time that he was actually relevant in the North, he was like 5. Yeah, 4 or 5 or whatever. It's not really going to matter.
Like, we see that as a common thing, right? Remember, like, Bran ruled Winterfell while Robb was gone?
Yeah.
And the little 10-year-old girl is ruling Bear Island, like, because she's the 10-year-old girl who's the heir, right?
Yeah.
So, like, even though Rickon's, like, 8 or whatever, I don't think that has any significance.
Yeah.
Well, the previous generation is murdering each other at an alarming rate.
Yeah, at an alarming rate. Okay, let's move on. So we were talking a little bit about Littlefinger's allegiance with, like, the Lannisters and the Tyrells possibly. So all that crazy shit's going on in King's Landing. And we talked about in the last episode that I got confused as hell with all that stuff that was going on with Marjorie and the armies, because you can't really tell if Marjorie's, like, faking it or not. If she is, she's doing it really well. And obviously we found out in this episode she is, and she's doing it really well. So she kind of has a very short conversation with the High Sparrow, and the High Sparrow is kind of like, you need to make babies right now. And that was kind of awkward. But it was kind of like, this is
the value of life.
This is your allegiance. And yes, thank you. Full circle now. You need to make, you need to make an heir, and he kind of subtly warns her that her grandmother, Lady Olenna, could possibly be in danger if she doesn't, like, shut the fuck up, basically, because Lady Olenna brought the fucking whole Tyrell army to try to beat off the Sparrows. So beat off. There you go. Thank you. Full circle.
You're welcome.
So we go. So Marjorie kind of goes to see Lady Olenna with what's the Septon's name? The Shame lady.
Septon or something.
Shame lady. We'll call her Shame lady.
Shame a lot.
Septa Shame.
Shamala.
Shamala's good.
So she kind of accompanies her to this meeting or whatever, and Marjorie plays it off so well. It seems like she's being brainwashed legitimately, and then she kind of begs her to leave and slips kind of a note to her that is a rose that we see at the end of that scene. And Lady Olenna then gets into it with Cersei that me and Wally were really happy about. That was like,
dream crush.
Everything you've ever wanted to say to Cersei, basically, Lady Olenna says it. So go back and if you need some, like, motivation one day, go and watch that scene, like, over and over and be like, fuck you, bitch. Basically, that's basically how me and Wally felt after we saw that. It was like,
Well, so it's interesting. So speaking of the schemes and Marjorie and stuff like that, and fraud detection, as it were, right? So
fraud detection,
right?
Frog.
No, fraud.
The Office.
Frog detection. He's trying to find frogs and all.
We're totally on the same page.
Yeah, fraud detection. Like, is anyone else, like, what I'm concerned about is, like, the High Sparrow is playing the game at, like, the next level. So him, like, why would he ever hint that Lady Olenna was going to be arrested, right? Like, it didn't seem like he was paving the way.
Well,
And he's not the type of guy that does pave the way, like, and be like, all right, Marjorie, you're going to be upset about this, but it's okay. And it went back to, and my other piece of evidence is that it went back to his constant theme about like seeing people as they truly are, right? And he mentioned that particularly with Marjorie's relationship with the poor, right? The poor remind us of who they really are, how we would smell without perfume, without our artifices, right? And so I felt like him dangling out there was his way of fraud detecting Marjorie, because as soon as Olenna flies the coop, like, that means that Marjorie's faking it, right? And he essentially very subtly set a trap for Marjorie. I think she's going to get fucked. And I like that she gave that gesture to Olenna, the Queen of Thorns, and I think everybody's rooting for the Queen of Thorns. Nobody's rooting for the High Sparrow, but he's playing some deep cover games. And I think he just got Marjorie. She got.
They both are. They're both playing deep cover. Go ahead, Nate.
Although I will say this, last week we talked about how, what the High Sparrow's game was. Who's he looking out for? Is he looking out for his religion?
What's his end game?
Or is he part of the game now? The higher
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So I argue that
name of the show?
Is now his religion doesn't matter at this point. He's now seen an opening for himself to gain a little bit of power. How is the only way that his High Sparrow army is going to, I guess, flourish in King's Landing? Well, the Lannisters are gone. Now we got to get rid of the Tyrell army. If Lady Olenna goes, they're gone too. So maybe he's trying to tell Marjorie to tell her grandmother to leave so they can get the Tyrell army out of King's Landing. So he's got his High Sparrow army unopposed.
Well, and now he basically has the whole the whole Lannister army.
Well, yeah, but they're fighting the Blackfish. So,
true.
So now they've got nothing to really stand in their way except for the Mountain, which I guess next week we're going to see him start to get rowdy.
Get Buck.
He's about to be unleashed. So I think this was maybe, you're right, I think he's playing a game, but I think he wanted them to leave. I don't think this is a way to catch Marjorie kind of...
Well, it could be both, right? It could be two birds with one stone.
Yeah, it definitely could be, but I think he's one of the biggest players in this game now than a whole lot of people that we think are, that are in this game, I guess, for lack of a better term.
I mean, I buy that.
Agreed.
I dig it. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because it doesn't necessarily have to be one way or the other. It could be both.
It could definitely be both.
Like he
could get the Tyrell army out of there.
Yeah.
And also fraud detect Marjorie.
Fraud detect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think he's definitely playing the game now, right? Because like Tomlin comes over to his side, and then in return he turns around and tries to throw Tomlin a queen badge because he's like, "Hey girl, well, hey, you got right." Like he's trying to help Tomlin out too.
Yeah.
Just trying to get him some, man. Just trying to help a brother out.
Well, I think we pretty much covered all the bases there.
Yeah. Well, kind of speaking of the Lannister army, as we saw in like the last episode, Jaime got stripped of his rights, basically, as
Kingsguard.
Kingsguard, thank you.
Yep.
And now he got sent to basically do like bitch work, I feel, to go take over Riverrun, because the Freys had Riverrun and then the Blackfish took it back over, and Walder Frey was kind of like, stop being punk bitches and go get it back. And Tommen sent Jaime to go take the army there and basically help them. So Jaime and Bronn are back. Bronn's back. I love Bronn.
Bronn's back.
I love Bronn. He's the best.
I love that.
Cracking jokes like a smart ass.
Yep.
Well, I mean, from a writing perspective, though, like I want to he's awesome, right?
I love him.
But I just love like what must go on in the writers' room. Like,
oh man,
they must be like pitching ideas back and forth. And be like, you think we can get Bronn in here?
Yeah,
What if he was like riding a horse next to Jaime? Just because.
Yeah, he's been gone for like the whole season. Like he can just come back, right?
He's got a castle. He was banging people. Like I don't even like. Yeah. He doesn't really want to be there.
Everyone
There's not
loves
really a strong.
Braun.
Yeah, like, but it's fun to watch that piece of writing happen and see how much they're willing to stretch.
Yeah.
Just to get him in.
Yeah.
I feel like that dude gets dumped on the most, right? Because like when Jamie went to go get him to take him to dorm, like he was chilling in his castle with his wife that he was trying to make babies with, and he's just like, "Yo, man, I don't need this, right? Like I'm just trying to make babies."
Yeah.
And then he says the same thing in this one when they're like riding. He's like, "Well, you promised me a castle and a fine wife."
All this stuff. Yeah.
Again, he's just trying to like chill out and be Bronn.
And it's so great that he's like. Jamie's like, a Lannister, don't say it. Don't even.
Don't
yeah. Just shut up.
Just
I'm here. Okay, you got me here,
don't
okay?
God, don't you dare say that phrase.
Hashtag just Braun things. So they go to River Run, and the Freys are like trying to take it back from the Blackfish, and they have Edmure, Catelyn's brother, right? We decided that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're
bad at shooting arrows.
No. Catelyn's cousin.
No,
brother.
Catelyn's
brother. That's
yeah,
Catelyn's brother.
The Blackfish's nephew.
Yes. The Blackfish is Catelyn's uncle.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
You got it?
He's bad at shooting arrows.
You with the family tree?
Yeah.
Okay. We need like a graphic to help us with this.
Yes.
So they threaten to kill Edmure, and they're like, if you don't surrender, I'm gonna hang him. And then he's like, all right, fuck it, do it. And they don't do anything. He's like, no, really, but I got a knife. I'm gonna kill him, I swear. And he's like, go ahead. And they don't do it because they're pussies. So then Jamie comes in there, and he's like, go do all this and this and this, and I'm gonna go and try to get a parlay with him. And the parlay doesn't work.
And I'm gonna hit you with my pimp hand.
Yes.
I'm gonna slap you with my pimp hand.
Oh, with the gold hand, he went, pah! That was great. I was like,
me of Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, you know that hurt.
That was rough.
Yeah.
Right, and so are we done recapping, or are we going to analysis?
Basically. I mean that's like the cliff notes, basically.
All right. I mean, so just coming back to Edmure specifically, right? In that scene, you always pay attention when a scene drags on in Game of Thrones because that means that they're making a point, and this is reinforcing that point we talked about the value of a life, right? And like, so here the Freys come and they're like, well, they'll have to give up an entire castle to save Edmure, right?
To save his nephew, not even his kid.
The Blackfish had a totally different calculus. He basically said, dude's dead already. Like, I don't know why you're fucking around. Like, just kill him. Was what he said to Jamie, right? So once again, it's this question of what is the value of a life and like how they reach different calculuses. And I always look at how they frame a scene, both in the characters and their interactions and stuff, to kind of see like who's right, or who the camera thinks is right, or who the writer thinks is right. In this case, it's definitely the Blackfish, right? Like he looks like the hero, and the Freys look like the villains here. Even though the Freys are the ones that are not killing people, and the Blackfish is essentially indifferent. That's very interesting in terms of like how you craft that, how you create that.
You have to decide who's the good and bad guys.
Right, but I do think the idea that the Blackfish is right is correct. Like I agree with it insofar as he's protecting an entire castle, right? And also he probably has righteousness on his side. So there's two reasons that he's right, but that means that a single
anyway. He was born.
What was that?
It's his castle. He was born there. So
exactly. In other words, that's what I mean by he has righteousness on his side, right? He has the rightful claim, and what.
Remember too, though, like Edmure is actually the lord of Riverrun. Like Edmure is like that's his castle, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, he's got. I mean, they really nailed it visually, right? Because there's a giant fish over the door, and then there's a fish on his chest, and it's like, these two things belong here. And when the Freys walk up to you and they're like, "This is our castle," you're kind of like,
"No, it's not gonna work,
buddy." That was a really great interpretation of how I felt. Of how I felt those brothers were. The casting on that is really good too. I hope they're real brothers in real life because they look exactly the same.
And they
in my
are
opinion.
Idiots.
And they are idiots. But that's really they're like, give it to us, please. Go ahead, Ralph.
I took that scene a whole lot more literal. I took it as a way to show that the phrase were kind of like full of crap and they can't back up what they're about, right? Because they're like, hey, we're going to kill this guy, and then they end up not. And then, like, Jamie gives the whole opine about how, like, you can't get up there and make idle threats. What happens if I told you if you spoke again, I'd slap you in the face, and then I didn't do it, and the guy speaks, and he cracks him in the chin.
With
like
the gold
I thought
hand.
that was a lot more of a literal thing. Yeah, like with the gold hand, he's just like, blam.
Well, kind of going off of that a little bit, if you think about it, what have the Freys done by themselves?
Mm-hmm.
They had the Boltons to help them at the Red Wedding, right? And now they couldn't even take back over River Run, so they're having to go back to the Lannisters to have them help take it back for them. So they are basically irrelevant besides their alliances. So they have to rely on those, essentially, because they can't. Exactly.
But they are so relevant.
Yeah.
Arguably, there is no house that's had a more profound effect on the development of Westeros.
Well, but only
Freys.
because of their alliances. They don't have like
that counts.
They don't have
that
like
counts.
an army though.
Yeah.
But they don't have an army to back them up. They don't have marital ties because he just keeps marrying little girls. So
Well,
He's got a lot of girls
they
to marry
don't,
up.
but they have strong geographic position, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
Right. So that is a thing. Like, the reason the Red Wedding happened was due to their strong geographic position, and basically, anytime you want to get anywhere north to south in Westeros,
You have to go.
through the twins.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, yes, they are a corrupt and decaying house, but they are powerful and they're a force to be reckoned with. And it goes to the Peter Baelish style of power brokering, or the Tyrion style of power brokering, which is to say that you don't necessarily need an army if you can manipulate the person with the army.
So, but essentially, if they lose whatever alliance they have with like the Lannisters / Baratheons or whatever, and the Boltons, anyone could take them over. Anyone could just take their tower,
Well,
and take it
if
down.
they can take their towers, right? Like,
Exactly,
they still
yeah.
have fortifications.
Right,
but yeah.
right. Because that's all really that they have to back them up. Okay, so moving on. Go
For
ahead.
one of those young brides, just to slit that old man's throat.
Oh yeah, for real though, man. That would be nice to see one of his like 10-year-old wives just fucking kill him.
Yes.
All right, so we talked about a little bit about it earlier, I think. Theon and Yara, they escaped with what was it, like a couple hundred ships?
Best ships.
Yes, the best ships, and they made port. They made port. I've only had 2 beers, I swear.
Man, I've heard.
And they made a port in Volantis. And
Was that where it was? Did they say it was
yeah.
Volantis? How did we know it was Volantis?
I'm pretty sure they said they were in Volantis.
Okay.
Or-
I must have missed that.
Or I feel like I saw something. I'm pretty sure Wikipedia
You
said
didn't
they
see
were
the
in
sign that said
Volantis.
"Welcome to Volantis"?
Yeah, you didn't see
I
the,
just
what
it just
happens
looked like a
in
pretty
Volantis
swinging
stays
place.
in Volantis. Am I right?
With a plate is plate.
Yes.
It looked like a pretty swinging place. I was like, this place
Yeah,
seems
it
kind of fun.
And Yara is a big old lesbian. And man,
Gonna
oh man,
off that girl.
she's gonna fuck the tits off of that girl.
So I think the biggest here it comes. I think the biggest revelation of this episode.
Here it is. He's been waiting to tell this joke.
Now you're ruining it.
I'm sorry.
You shouldn't give away as a joke.
Go.
Wait.
So the biggest revelation of the whole episode is the fact that there are no nice asses on the Iron Islands.
That is.
Ah!
They've all got swimmer's butt.
So you're like forced to be a lesbian on the Iron Islands? You're born a lesbian on the Iron Islands? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I thought that was
there's-
rad insofar as no one gave a shit, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
She's just making out with chicks and
Yeah, she is one of the guys.
Well, and if you think about it, I mean, she was obviously kind of like a tomboy sort of figure, and I mean, she grew up around boys, and once Theon was taken away to Winterfell, it was kind of just like her and all the other sailors or whatever. So it's not really surprising, but it was just really funny how it was just like, bam, there it is. There was like, I just wasn't, didn't see that coming.
Well, right, like, but this is the cheat that Game of Thrones gets to do, right?
Yeah.
Is like in a scene filled with titties, they're like, here's one of our main characters making out with a chick, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But like the subtext of that is like, also this is super lascivious, and isn't this sexy and hot?
Yes.
Because it's lesbians, right? So it's like this cheat that it's this cheat that Game of Thrones gets to play on the audience, right? Where it's like, not a big deal. Is it a big deal to you, audience? Are you perverted? Are you, you know what I mean? Like,
do you want to build a wall around the lesbians?
Ooh. It's gonna be the best wall, the biggest wall. It's gonna be huge.
There's gonna be dicks everywhere. Scare the lesbians away.
It's gonna be a wall of dicks, and they're gonna run away from it.
It's gonna scare the
we
lesbians.
will erect that wall.
All right, Kevin. Kevin, after this, I'm gonna make a gif of you going like this, and it's gonna say lesbians, lesbians.
Seems fair.
Okay.
Seems fair.
Anyway, I just had to point that out.
I really liked how Yara did stand up for Theon. She was like, "Yes,
Yeah.
bad shit happened to you,
Yeah.
but you're still, part of the,
Well,
I don't know."
she kind of gave him one last chance, and she was like,
Yeah.
"Look, if you are still, reek or whatever, just kill yourself and just end it, And you could see that he still had like that mindset of like he still does what he's told, because how many times did she say drink that? And yeah, and he did, but he is still Theon on the inside, and she gave him that last chance of like, either kill yourself or come with me and we're gonna fuck some shit up. So she obviously kind of revealed the plan that they are going to Marine, to make. What?
I win.
Madison wins.
Madison does win.
Madison wins.
I mean, y'all ready for me to beat a dead horse, but this is another scene that's central to that theme that I mentioned earlier, of the question of, it's a dual question in this scene. It's how does Yara value Theon's life, right? What is the value of a life between a brother and a sister? But also, what is the value of a life to an Ironborn, right? Because if you're not gonna drink and fuck and do awesome shit, then there's no point in being an Ironborn, right?
Yeah.
Is kind of one statement that's being made. And the other statement that's being made is a much more personal one about Yara saying, like, I need you, I believe in you, and Theon, who has been thrown away, his life has essentially been worthless. He's been, everything that went down with Ramsay, but also, he was a prisoner of the Starks. He was, and certainly his father did not value his life at all, right?
No.
And so, like, that question that appears between them, and of course there's deep symbolism in the idea of the drinking, right? Whether that be drinking as a signifier of love, or drinking as a signifier of life, right? And her encouraging him to drink deeply of both those things is very significant. And one of the reasons that I thought this was absolutely, besides the tits in the background, the best, and in the foreground, the best scene in the entire episode. Like, I thought it was really beautifully written, really wonderful thematically, and also happened to be filled with titties that we weren't supposed to notice, I guess. I don't know, but I thought it was cool.
Titties.
I didn't notice all the titties. I have my own. So.
Well, it's kind of interesting to see like the evolution of their relationship ever since Yara went to like rescue him, because
since he tried to finger bang her.
No, after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was trying to get all serious, and thank you for taking it there.
That's how they started.
Yes.
It's not my fault.
No,
That's how they started.
I'm saying when she tried to go rescue him. And,
okay, but you said the start of their relationship. All right.
I said the evolution of their relationship.
All
and when she tried to save him, and she had basically given up on him, and she said, Theon is dead. So she had kind of like closed the book on him and basically given up on anything about having Theon. And since then, she is basically saying, now I need you for this. Like, the only way that we can pull this off is if we do it together, as Greyjoys together. So it's kind of interesting to see, like, she she gave up on him at one point. Even when he came back to the Iron Islands, even when he escaped, she barely really knew what to do with him because he was broken and he was, you know, freaking brainwashed and mental, and she didn't really know what to do. So it's kind of interesting to see how their relationship has kind of evolved ever since she at one point was basically dead to her, you know. So they are going to Marine to make a pact with Danny, and it was basically the same plan that their uncle has, except their uncle was planning on, like, fucking Danny and marrying her or whatever.
Yara may still have that.
Yara may do, that's what I said. I said
she
that.
could be planning the same thing.
I said that before the episode. I was like, Yara is gonna go marry Danny, and there's just gonna be lesbians together. Lesbian. I don't know why this is the sign for lesbians. So, okay, let's move on to Arya because this makes me sad, and I don't know how to feel about this. So Arya tries to escape back to King's Landing, but what I'm confused about is when they ended the last episode, she was like hiding in what we thought was like her room or whatever you want to, her cell or whatever you want to call it. And we were like, okay, she's gonna wait for the waif, and she has Needle with her, and she's gonna stab the waif, and she's gonna win, and she's gonna escape, whatever. But then, like a fucking dumbass, she goes out in public and tries to like book a trip to King's Landing, and she does, and she's like, okay, we're leaving in the morning. And then again, like a dumbass, she just sits on the side, and some old lady comes up, and it's the fucking waif, and the waif like stabs her like 3 times or something, and she jumps over the ledge into like the river and basically escapes, and then she's like running all bloody. And I'm really mad because while I understand why Arya wants to escape and thinks that, like, okay, this is the perfect time to escape, excuse me, I need to get the fuck out of here, I can't believe she's so dumb to, like, go out in public. Because she knows, like, the waif and, like, Jack can have these abilities, so she should be, like, looking over her shoulder wherever she goes. And I'm kind of disappointed that she let this happen. Because Arya's my girl.
She could have stolen a face or something.
I wouldn't think that by the time she came back to the House of Black and White, that she would be able to like access it. Yeah, because I don't, and which kind of makes me more convinced that the room that she was in at the end of the last season or the last episode was not like her room in the House of Black and White.
Oh, no. Yeah, it was.
I thought it was just like a random sewer.
What'd you say, Madison? What'd you say?
We had talked about it that it was a sewer.
Yeah, something. It wasn't her like room or whatever. It was somewhere else. So
for sure.
it's kind of just like not. I'm just.
I think
I'm not happy. Is what I'm trying to say.
The whole scene was a little too. Arya's a smart girl.
Yes.
It seemed a little too easy and contrived, especially down to the fact that, like, this woman with this weird voice, like, says, "Oh, my child."
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, sweet," and then, like,
yeah,
I
think we're gonna see something else. Like maybe she had planned something to that effect, or knew that's why she was like walking around with big sacks of money in an open marketplace or something. I think there's something more to it than that, because that was a little too straightforward.
I agree. I feel like it was just too, and it was careless, I guess I could say, because you wouldn't think after all the training that she's done that she would be that stupid to do something like that. Even if she was trying to like book a ride to King's Landing, I still don't think she would be dumb enough to just hang out on a bridge somewhere and just like chillax for a little bit.
Where's Needle? Why didn't she have Needle?
Didn't she have Needle?
I disagrry.
Oh,
I think
God, here we go.
I think the whole show, she has shown that she is not smart. She was going to bum rush the stage after her dad got his head chopped off, right? And that other guy had to grab her and tell her to look the other way and have her run away. The first time that she was told to assassinate somebody, she decided, oh fuck it, I'm not gonna do what they tell me. I'm too good for that.
So
then she goes and kills someone else, thinking that there's not gonna be any consequences or things that come to that. I think this is just the same damn pattern that she has shown over the course of the whole show. She shows huge sparks of like, I can be a badass. I can be this great character. And then, oh, wait a minute. No, I'm still a stupid little girl, and I'm going to go do what I want.
So you're saying she's just a stupid bitch?
What is the cardinal sin / common characteristic of every Stark ever?
They stupid.
Raw, stupid naivety, right?
Yep. Impulse. That's it.
The unwillingness to accept the world in Westeros as it is, as a shitty place.
Whoa, hello.
Which brings us to
Bruno.
the thing we're not talking about. but maybe we'll put a pin in that.
TK says he agrees. TK says, holy shit, I agree with Pendy. Oh my god, is this happening? I think he just blew his mind a little bit. So what are you saying? What are you saying, Wally? Do we need to name our firstborn after, or rename our firstborn?
No, I think what Wally's saying is
we need to rename Ari.
Like we go away from her and we don't see her at all in like episode 8, right? But then episode 9, like it flashes to her and she's dead in the street and she's the
no, she's in the next episode. You saw her.
Yeah.
You saw her jump across something. You saw her in the preview.
They casually tried to throw that in there without you noticing, but that's definitely
she's
her,
in there.
like jumping off that balcony or whatever.
Oh yeah, she's totally alive. So basically, Wally, what you're saying is she's just a stupid bitch and she didn't have anything planned. Like she's just dumb, is what you're saying. You're saying that Arya's dumb. You're saying that I gotta get my foot
I don't like it when mommy and daddy fight.
She's dumb. You're saying she's dumb? I'm just
saying that she has
it's Arya's fault.
Done this in the past, and that this is that huge.
It's the pattern.
Her character flaw is that she can't get past this impulse to try and do the right thing and try to, move forward her own way, and all she has done is cause herself grief every time she's done it.
That's a phase. That is the do not want phase. I'll to divert from this argument, I will say that, like, once again, how the episode asked the same question that I'm beating the dead horse on about the value of life as it related to Arya's character was also interesting, right? Because a lot of what Arya's character has been wrestling with over the last season and a half is the concept of anonymity, right? Am I a Stark? Am I a girl, right? And as she's marching, I just love the way that the shot emphasized the theme as she's marching through the marketplace with like her guts hanging out. But she's this anonymous girl. No one is helping her. She's receiving no assistance.
And people are seeing her basically die.
Yeah, her life has no value as a person who is anonymous, right? And that is interesting, and I liked how they work that in there. This show is just so artful in that respect.
Anyone else?
Silence.
Before we move on, I didn't want to move on. I felt that was probably like one of the most important scenes of this episode, so I wanted to give everyone else a chance.
Well, also narratively, the value of a life, which is to say that because Arya is important to this story, like she can be stabbed 8 times and jump into a river and she's okay, which I think is a little bit of meta commentary perhaps.
Yeah.
But it occurred to me like that's some plot armor you got there, young lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the trained assassin stabs you a bunch and you are okay.
She will for sure be in the next episode because the next episode is titled No One. So she better fucking be in that episode. Okay, so so last but not least, the storyline that we've been hinting at this whole episode is the Hound is alive. Let's just let that soak in for a second. And as soon as that happened,
speaking of plot armor,
and as soon as that happened, Wally had this freak out that was like, he is fully convinced that if you don't see that fucker die, they're not dead. Okay, so which makes me think that well, maybe Stannis is alive, even though Brienne's is dead.
Could be.
Hold on. Earlier in the episode, we missed. Someone said Stannis had his head chopped off, or
yeah, but
something
they
to
believe
effect.
that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it true necessarily.
Yeah. So,
And honestly, when you see someone die, they're still not dead. So
That's
there's
true,
that.
yeah. So everything else
They're important
That's
enough.
very true.
Jon Snow.
So he was at the beginning and the end of the episode, and basically what happened was a sept had found him. Septon, excuse me.
Get it right.
Had found him. Wait, I thought the septons are women.
No, those are the septas.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry, Septon, excuse me, had
That's
found
right.
him, and he basically was an inch from death, essentially. And there were so many times.
Big fucker.
Yeah.
It's tough to kill.
There were so many times when he was basically about to die and he still pulled through it. And he was with this Septon and his followers essentially building something. And they were kind of in the middle of nowhere. And they were in the middle of building something. And a group from the Brothers Without Banners came up, and it looked like they were about to fuck them all up because they looked kind of scary, and they asked about what kind of provisions that they had, and then they came back later and basically killed everyone except the Hound, and then the Hound kind of became the Hound again, and kind of ripped the axe away and kind of ran off. So the Hound is back, and he kind of had like life talks basically with the Septon about the type of person he was, and the type of person that he may try to turn into and be a better person, and like whatever. So what's he gonna do now that he's escaped?
I say he goes back to just like straight being Hound. So like I apologize to Nate because I called Nate a son of a bitch, but it was because I thought he said what Wally said, so Wally's a son of a bitch. Because I remembered somebody had said something about, well, the Hound's not dead, and I'm like, no, Hound, like the Hound's pretty dead. And then the very opening scene is like, hey, there's a Hound, he's back. He's been chilling for the last episodes. And but I like I said earlier, I think the whole thing was just to set the Hound to show that how he came back, and to give him a motivation to like start kicking ass again rather than being like a broke man who's just like, oh, woe is me.
I still think he like throughout all of this with being with the Septon and with the, I mean, it was basically like a mini village if you want to think of it like that, because they did it wasn't just men building stuff, it was like women and children and everything. But I feel like he kind of had like a breakthrough moment about thinking about the things that he's done in the past and like the type of person that he was and the type of person that he wants to be. But then when he came out of the woods and everybody was dead, including the Septon was hanged, that he kind of became the old Hound and was like, all right, time to fuck some shit up and just run away.
I totally disagree.
So
but go ahead.
No, that was it.
You got more.
Nope, go ahead.
I totally disagree. So the Hound that we're going to be dealing with moving forward, right? Like why you go through this sort of a storyline is because he's going to be a very different Hound. He is not going to just be a bodyguard. He is not going to be someone who's a big motherfucker who murders someone else, right? So these bookend scenes were what tied the thematics together, right? So, the idea that the Hound almost died. Well, what's the point of almost killing the Hound and bringing him back? Well, the point of that is that conversation that him and Septon Ray had where Septon Ray said, the gods aren't done with you yet, that you still have a purpose, right? And so the Hound also, though, is just a more thoughtful person in general, right? He's done with the violence. He's done with all of that, right? That's why he's joined this community. And the idea being that by the time Septon Ray is very much a stand-in for a potential path that the Hound could go down, right? A path of pure pacifism, right? And he is the Hound in that respect, right? So seeing him hung at the end of the episode inside his sept means like, no, that's not going to work. But the Hound has changed, right? Like, because, another one of those conversations that took place between Rey, that big preaching scene. And once again, when Game of Thrones slows down and you're like, what's this scene here for? You got to ask that question, right? And like that whole conversation was about it's not too late to change, right? It's not too late to stop being someone who just murders indiscriminately.
Is it too late now to say sorry?
It's about, right? So Rey is suggesting that the path forward, right? We're given kind of a false dichotomy here. The path forward is pacifism, right? Rather than just indiscriminate murdering.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between what's splitting the difference between indiscriminate murdering and pacifism, particularly for a guy who's a big fucker who's tough to kill? The answer is righteous retribution, right? Yeah. And potentially being a hand of the gods, as it were, right? So kind of an Archangel Michael type situation, right? Like
that's a good way to think of it.
So the new Hound is going to be similar to the old, and that he's going to be a fucking brutal murdering machine, but he's going to be one that is specifically concerned with morality and righteousness, right? And that's going to be interesting to see how it goes forward, because one, it's not necessarily clear that the Hound, even with the best of intentions, has the best moral compass to be able to discern right from wrong. And then there's the idea that Westeros is a difficult place to discern right or wrong, even for those with the best moral compass. And there's the fourth idea that discerning right or wrong is not necessarily the most useful thing to do in Westeros, even if you could do it. So all of that is going to be very interesting for his story. And I love how they weaved all these questions together about the value of life, right? Because the villain said the value of life is like, well, the value of my life is, and just getting me some food is worth way more than the value of all these women and children and people, right? And that was pretty cool. Obviously, Sept and Rey's position on the value of life. And further, and this goes back to Arya, this goes back to Theon, it goes back to Sansa and Jon, and that whole thing is that even when we're talking about the value of life, we have to be realistic, that it is subject to, like kind of what you said, Wally, like the world that we live in, not the world that we want to live in, right?
Yeah.
So the Hound having to go back to be a murdering machine is not because he wants to not be a murdering machine, but he's subject to the world that he lives in. I'm going to breathe now.
So I think it's important to make the distinction between what you said, righteous retribution, and I think what a lot of people probably had on their mind would be revenge of some sort. I think when he admitted the fact that a woman, almost killed him within an inch of his life, I think that was the biggest signal to me that he has changed his mindset on his worldview, how he sees the world. And what? Oh, okay. Sorry. So how he's now I have to read. No, Wally, we cannot discuss one question that you have. Sorry. No. I'm going to take the rest of the time, and that's going to be it. So where was I? Okay. So his worldview has changed, and I think you're right in the fact that his is going to be a righteous retribution and doing things for good. Maybe that doesn't mean. And I believe that he's going to meet up with Brienne at some point, and they're going to be simpatico. I don't think they're going to fight. I think they're going to get along for the common good. And that leads me to the next question: where is his retribution going to be most funneled through? Who is he going to help the most? We talked before we started about Arya. We talked about how
that'd be so cool.
Yeah, how. There's got to be some way that they eventually, probably not this season, but there's got to be some way they eventually get back to them two meeting up, because they did have such a, albeit weird, whatever. They did have a relationship that was special.
All right,
the knives are starting to point inward, right? Arya is coming back to Westeros, hopefully. The Hound is about to go on a righteous quest in Westeros.
And Brienne and Tormund are just gonna
like all the dangerous things that are going to be on the side of right are like all circling back towards the middle. It's kind of cool stuff.
Okay, Wally, what was your question?
Okay, like, so, I don't know, this may be a bad time, but, like, I feel like we may never get another chance to discuss it in our podcast. And I think when I saw the Hound's story and I see all these people, and, you know, if they don't show him dead on the show, I've said it last week, I felt like he was alive. If they don't show him on the show as dead, then there's no way that they're dead. And even that sometimes, as we've seen, doesn't matter. I was
going to say, they have,
though. But does anyone... I hope that it stops, because I am afraid that Game of Thrones is walking down a road that would turn it into almost like every other television show. The one thing Game of Thrones always had is they didn't give a fuck. They would kill anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They would kill your favorite character, and they didn't care. They would stab Robb Stark's pregnant wife in the stomach and then kill her. They didn't care. They didn't care about your feelings. Is this not a dangerous road for Game of Thrones? Because this feels so different. We're bringing back a character, and not only are we bringing him back, but we're going to change the very foundation potentially of how this character was now that we've basically brought him back from the dead. And that changes, in my opinion, the entire scope of this show.
Yeah, like I'm with you. I like the Hound when he was just focused on like eating chicken and fucking the king, right? Like that was like his focus in life, and that was the cool Hound, you know, like screw everything else, right? But this also kind of goes. You're making a good point, because the who was it, the author of The Walking Dead just like criticized George R. R. Martin for allowing George R. R. Martin to allow HBO to change his story for TV, right? So are we seeing like the after effects of that here with the Hound coming back? Like people aren't dead, they are dead, they're not dead, maybe they're not, you know, that kind of thing. Is that what we're seeing here? I don't know.
So wait, you mean to tell me that Hodor could still be alive?
Oh, Hodor.
We never saw him die.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, he's about to be the next Night King. I'm telling you. He's like basically a giant. He's about to be a fucking badass. I'm telling you. But
well, I think it's a good point, Wally. I think that, and there's still potentially characters to be revealed, right? Particularly along the Brotherhood Without Banners with Lady Stoneheart, right? And that being a big book thing, that, you know, the resurrection of Catelyn Stark, which they seem to be paving the way for, to one extent or another.
Were you already on when we talked about that?
Yes.
Had you logged
up?
on? Okay.
I'm just bringing it up in this context.
Okay. No, I got you.
But also the idea that the Hound could potentially fill that role as a character back from the dead, looking for righteous retribution, etc.
Right. My whole point is, I just don't, don't get me wrong, I felt like dog shit for about 3 weeks after Robb Stark died. But the fact that they would kill Robb Stark is what made me honestly probably love the show, because it made me hold on to and love my favorite characters. For example, everybody knows, and I've established it from season 1, if they kill Tyrion, it's over. Y'all have fun with your podcast. Y'all have fun with the show.
I'm out.
It is dead. It's over.
Peace.
I'm dropping the mic. I'm out. So, but that's what has like drawn me to it. And I don't want to see the show move. And I don't know, maybe it's just,
I don't know.
Being too big.
It doesn't matter what you want, Wally.
It doesn't matter. And you know how I knew this episode was gonna be fucked up, because they didn't even start with the opening scene.
Yes.
They didn't even start with it. They started with the Hound and showing that the Hound was alive.
Dude.
I don't think they've ever done. Have they ever done that?
They haven't.
They haven't never done that. And I was like, whoa, oh my God, something is about to happen. Something really intense is about to happen. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, like I thought somebody made a mistake, right? Like somebody rolled the wrong thing or something. I'm like, what is this? Like,
I thought they were
they're
doing
like in a green field building a church, and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now?
I thought they were doing it to save time, because there's been a lot of complaints about the show being like really short this season, is that the episodes are like 52 minutes long or 51 or something like that. So I thought they were like, okay, we're just going to skip the opening. And I was like, I don't think they've ever skipped the opening ever. So I was really surprised, but I was like, okay, something is about to happen just because they did that. So you knew shit was about to be fucked up. And then they showed that hound and okay, we knew what was happening. So, okay, but that's it. Are there any last thoughts before we wrap it up? Anybody?
That was dope.
Next week looks crazy.
Yeah, should be good next week.
I think next week is going to be good. I think we've covered just about every storyline in the past 1 or 2 episodes, and I think hopefully next week everything will kind of hopefully come full circle. But next week the episode is called No One. So it better have something to do with Arya, some sort of, if not conclusion, some sort of extension of hers. And then episode 9 is going to be after that. And something always happens in episode 9.
Bye-bye, Ramsay.
So somebody's gonna
Hope so.
die. Somebody's gonna die.
I don't think it's Ramsay. I don't think it's Ramsay.
I don't think it's gonna be Ramsay, or maybe like Ramsay and somebody else. Anyway.
Who the fuck knows?
Thank you. Okay.
True
Yes,
that.
that's essentially what it is. All right. Kind of a shameless plug. All of our episodes are now available on YouTube, and they're available on loadeddicenetwork.com. So if you want to download just the audio version, you can go to loadeddicenetwork.com and download the podcast. But they're also available on YouTube if you want to see our goofy faces and see our expression when we say lesbians.
It's worth the price of admission, which, by the way, is free.
It's worth watching a 15-second ad about like tampons.
Guaranteed.
Exactly.
Or your money back.
Yeah. Or your money back. There you go. All right, guys. Thanks everyone so
Loaded
much for
Ladies
watching.
is back. Shout out to Loaded Ladies.
Yeah.
Hey.
Lydia does a podcast. It's great. It's Loaded Ladies. It's back.
We released an episode like a couple days ago, and we're doing another one this week. So yeah, go to Loaded Ladies. Just go to loadeddicenetwork.com and look at everything. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for everyone for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. Bye. 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 Bye.